English Prodita podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Alan. But first, I will introduce myself. I'm Irka. This morning I will be the host, and we are going to talk about cross-culture understanding. And we have Mr. Alan today from England. Hello, good morning, Mr.
Hello.
Alan.
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Okay. Please, first, Mr. Alan, please tell me about yourself.
My name's Alan. I'm from London in England. And when I lived in London, I used to work as a craftsman. And did that for about 17 years or so.
Okay. And how long have you been in Indonesia?
I've been living in Indonesia now for about 5 years.
Oh, about 5 years. Okay. And dear listeners, our topic today is about cross-culture understanding. And as we know that every country has their own and their unique culture.
Yes.
And if we visit another country, we have to understand or know the other cultures. And maybe we also got culture shock. But if we are talking about culture, as we know that there is no right or wrong culture, but just different.
Different
yeah.
culture, yes.
Not like this is wrong or this is right. No, but yeah, just different if we are talking about culture, right? Do you
Yes.
agree about that?
Yeah, definitely. Because if you visit Japan, the culture is different, or if you visit America, the culture is different, and you just need to respect the culture of the country that you're visiting or staying in. Yes.
Okay. Alan, do you like staying in Indonesia?
Of course, yes.
Why? Why do you like staying here? Especially in Indonesia and then especially in Blitar.
Okay. Obviously in England we have a very different climate, so it's much colder. We have cold wind and cold rain, whereas here when it rains it's a warm rain.
There's 4 seasons, right?
4 seasons in the UK, yeah. So we have autumn, spring, summer and winter. Whereas here you just have a dry and a rainy season. And the dry season's hot and dry, and then the rainy season, it's not like rain all the time. It's about an hour's rain once a day. And that's perfectly acceptable, yeah. It's fine, okay. An hour's rain, there's no problem. But it rains very heavy, so you have to be prepared for that. If you're on the bike or something out traveling, then you need to take shelter.
In UK?
No, here.
Oh, in here.
Yeah, I mean in the UK it just drizzles and rains. We don't get this torrential downpour. Here the rain is really intense.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's very heavy. But after an hour it's gone, so it's not a problem, because when it rains, you just stop what you're doing, have a coffee or something, and then once you've finished, you go about your business. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it's very livable, you know, it's very easy.
Livable.
And obviously in the rainy season, it's hotter because of the humidity is much higher. So, but in Blitar, we don't get the extremes of the humidity and the dry season. Like if you go to Central Java or somewhere, the dryness in the dry season is really dry. You know,
I agree with you.
The crops fell and the ground cracks open, and that doesn't happen so much here in East Java. So we're lucky in that, although we still have the 2 seasons, it's not as intense as it is in Central Java. So, and that's similar for other places. Like if you're using like Kalimantan, the rainy season gets much more intense, and there's more rain. It's not just an hour like we have here, which is just so amenable to just have an hour's rain. But if you go to Kalimantan or somewhere, then it'd be rain all day or for several hours, which is harder to deal with. It means you have more landslide and more problems with the roads and so on. So it's in Java, and certainly East Java, we have it fairly comfortable.
Yes, I agree with you.
In comparison to other parts of Indonesia.
So. That's right. So you like staying in East Java, especially in East Java, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd still like to be up in the mountains. I just love the mountains. I love the views, and it's also a lot cooler in the mountain. So I'd prefer to be living in the mountains, but at the moment, still quite happy living in Blitar.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So there are different weather, yeah, between Indonesia and also UK. And then, sir, the next question is, what do you think about the different culture between Indonesia and England? Maybe do you have any experience about it, like different culture, or maybe a culture shock at the first time you stay in Indonesia and oh my God, this is different, and what do you think about that?
Before coming to Indonesia, I'd already traveled around many places. So I traveled around like Europe extensively, and I've been to a lot of Asian countries. So I didn't really experience a cultural shock, but yeah, you notice cultural differences. Like I came out to Asia about 5 years ago, and I did some traveling around Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, and also around different parts of Indonesia. And so I kind of already understood, you know, like there's differences between here and Malaysia, but they're not big differences. And I'd been to countries like Sri Lanka before. So, and again, there's similarities to here, but it's still very different to Sri Lanka. Like the culture is very different, but the kind of the economy is similar, I'd sort of say. Although I think it's changed since I went to Sri Lanka, because they went through a crash, economic crash. So that's changed a lot economically, but before that they were similar to Indonesia. It was really just the details of the culture, learning about, as I say, the small differences. And also, as you travel around Indonesia, because it's quite diverse, because you have like Hindi, Muslim, Christian, and Buddhist, that you experience, even within Indonesia, you experience vast different cultures, and the people in, you know, the Dayak are different to the Aceh, and they're different to the Bugis, and they're different. All the different tribes are different culturally, and they all have their own languages, their own mythology, their own belief systems. So, and then they have different marriage beliefs or habits, traditions, and how they get married either at home or in a temple, or and how they cremate or bury their dead, and so on. So there's a lot of differences just in different regions. So and if you go to the coast, the fishing villages are very different to inland or in the mountain, where they're growing lots of agriculture, because it's cooler here. There's so much agriculture being grown in the mountains, so you get all the fruit trees and all the crops, you know, the carrots, the cabbages, all that kind of thing. But the mentality or the day-to-day pace is different in the mountain compared to like fishing villages or maybe an industrial town like Surabaya or somewhere, you know. So they are, you get these quite big differences by just traveling a few miles within Indonesia. But I think, but generally wherever you go, you're welcome. People are polite and friendly. People are hospitable. They try to help. They are, you know, always. Sometimes you meet people and they just want to take you to their home, introduce you to their cousin, their uncle, their grandparents, you know. So that's nice, but it can be sometimes. When I was traveling, it can be a bit too much, because you think, well, I just want to, you know, get to X, Y, Z, and then get to my hotel, and then get to bed, you know, because I spent a long day traveling. But the hospitality of saying, no, come in, have some tea, have some food, meet the family. It's like, okay.
this is also the different cultures, yeah. If in Indonesia, Indonesian people, if they please come in, and then the people say, oh yes, but actually they don't come. They just say yes for the hospitality, maybe like, please come in. Oh yeah, thank you. But actually, in the reality, she or he don't really come to the house. Just say yes, like that. It's the difference. And then actually, I also have a culture shock experience when I was in Australia about the breakfast or the brekkie. We said brekkie in Australia.
Australia, everything is slang, so brekkie.
Australian slang. For the brekkie, the breakfast means like in Indonesia, I always eat rice and vegetables or nasi pecel. But in Australia, my host mom, I stay in a host mom, and a host family. I mean, like give me fruits and also yogurt.
Yes.
And also milk. At the time, oh my God,
I'm still hungry. Where's my rice?
Yes, and at 10 in the morning. I was starving at the time. Oh my God, I need rice at the time. So I come to the, the Indonesian restaurant to eat rice. Only to eat rice because, I need adaptations to eat in the morning, And then the second one is about the bathroom or the toilet because there is no water. Only tissues.
Oh yes,
so
yes. Dry system.
Yeah, dry. What do you say?
Dry system rather than using a wet jet.
Yeah. Right.
So, it's just a dry wipe system.
Yeah, dry wipe, and it is.
But sometimes they would have what's called like a bidet.
Oh,
which is like a button you can press on the toilet, which can
wash.
Yeah,
I know that.
To help you wash, but it's not that common. Like in Australia, that not many people would have it.
Yeah. So I brought my water bottle. So I bring a bottle of water to if I want to go to the toilet.
Because we don't have the scoop.
Yeah, the scoop. Yes. Yes, you're right. There's no scoop in Australia, or maybe in Singapore or in England. There's no scoop, right?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. As I say, because I had been fairly well traveled before that, like in Malaysia they have scoop, and in Sri Lanka they have scoop, and those like in Sri Lanka I would have curry 3 times a day. I have curry for breakfast, curry for lunch, and I loved it. It was because I'm English. I love curry. Yeah. To eat curry for breakfast was just heaven every day, So, but that meant rice as well, So I wasn't surprised when here you have like rice 3 times a day. Yeah. And I tried it at first and it was okay, but then I just got a bit tired of rice, to eat it 3 times a day was like, this is excessive. And then also it was rice with, sambal or something very, very spicy. So it was like at first I would be eating that 3 times a day, and again I found it too much, so I just went back to having fruit for breakfast instead of. But as you say, for you, it won't fill you up. It won't be enough. It's nice and healthy to have fruit, yogurt, or something, some fruit juice, a glass of coffee. But I know for an Indonesian, they will politely eat it, and then they will sneak off to get a packet of rice from somewhere. Because for you, if you don't have rice, it's a snack. If you have rice, it's a meal. But if you don't have rice, it's a snack. It's not a meal.
If I don't have if I don't have rice,
it's
only
just
snacks.
a snack.
Not meals. So, have you eaten breakfast? No, not yet, because I didn't. Because
I didn't have rice.
Yeah, that's right. It's Indonesian culture, and if my Australian friends also feels that I was also tired about rice. So actually in 2017 I got scholarship from the government. It's Australia Indonesia Youth Exchange Program. Okay. So 18 youth from Indonesia come to Australia for Excellent. 2 months, and 18 youth as well from Australia come to Indonesia.
Yeah, so it's like a student exchange.
That's right. And we're living in Bengkulu. Do you know Bengkulu?
No.
So near Sumatra. It's
Okay.
part of
Yeah.
Sumatra. And then my Australian friends also like find when they go to the toilet, they went to the toilet and then they were looking for where is the toilet. So because the squat toilet, right? You know that, and they got difficulty to squat. Yeah.
It's because that's the thing. Many Westerners at first they won't like the squatting toilet, but for many Westerners they can be overweight.
Oh yeah.
And if you have diabetes or something, you can be off balance, and you don't want to be off balance when you're squatting on a toilet. So, so many people, if they, they're uncomfortable to squat.
Yeah.
So if they're maybe older or overweight, then it can be an issue for them to use the squatting toilet. But in saying that, I know that obviously the old people here, they have no problem with it at all. So it's a mindset, I think, and it's also what you're used to. If you squat every day that many times, it will keep you more supple.
Yeah.
But because the older people, they only come to sit,
Yeah.
and the leg only comes at right angles,
Yeah.
it never comes fully squatting. So they're not used to that position, and at first it can feel uncomfortable, awkward to them.
Yeah, that's right.
Or maybe the posture is bad for the back. Or
Yeah.
So it's just, that's the thing. If you do squat, 3-4 times a day, whatever you need to do, it's going to keep you more supple.
Yeah.
Because you are squatting and then you've got to stand afterwards. So, and you usually got to juggle around with clothes and things. So it can be, I think, better for you if you're used to it, because you are squatting, and that's another thing. If you go back to more primitive cultures, they would, rather than standing, they would often squat and talk. Like if people met in the jungle or they met in the field, rather than standing, you don't sit on the floor because often there's insects or it's sandy or something, but you would squat because it's a very comfortable. If you're used to squatting, you can squat and talk for several hours without being uncomfortable.
Oh,
if you sit, you become numb, don't you? You have to move your legs because they become numb. But if you squat, you can. You'll find tribes people hold meetings like this, and so it's a good thing to keep in your system, a good habit to keep in your system. So, but many Westerners, if they only sit in a chair, they never sit on the floor, they never squat, and then they never do activities, so. If they suddenly have to squat, it's going to be uncomfortable or awkward for them at first until they find
difficulty.
Until they get used to it, and often they don't want to get used to it.
Yes. If you're talking about different cultures, there's so many different cultures, right? Is there any Indonesian cultures that change your own culture from England?
That changed my sort of personal habits, if you like.
Sorry?
You mean that have changed...
Your habits,
Yeah, I mean, because... there's... I think timekeeping is one thing. Because... in the UK, you'd always be punctual. You'd always be on time. You'd always make sure you left plenty of time to do all the things you needed to do, and you'd schedule your day and that type of thing. So, I would always have like a schedule and be. Not strict to it, but I would adhere to it, I would keep to my schedules. And if I wasn't, then I would obviously amend them and adapt them and inform people. But in Indonesia, it's much more informal in that things happen when they happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a heavy expectation to be punctual.
Yes, because in Indonesia we also have a term. It's a rubber time.
Yeah, rubber time. Yeah.
Rubber time.
So I was happy to find rubber time because it means you can just be more relaxed. And I generally I'm still fairly punctual, but I become much more relaxed about it, and because about other things I'd be very relaxed in UK. It's a fairly, I would say, it's fairly relaxed culture, but here it's even more relaxed, and it's like sometimes I will go to an event and they will say, okay, be there for 8 o'clock, and I get there at 8 o'clock, and there's nobody there.
Oh my God!
And so I wait 10, 20 minutes.
Oh my God!
And I think, okay, well, so I send off some texts, you know, how's it going? You know, I'm at the place. Take a picture and say, hello. You know, I'm here. And then they say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're on the way. I say, okay. Because they might be coming from, I don't know, Nanjuk or somewhere, and you say, oh, so okay, you'll be here what sort of time? They say, oh, maybe about 10.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, no problem. But you told me to get here for 8.
Yeah.
So I will go for a walk.
Oh my God. Because, you know, when I was in Australia, if I was late only like 2 or 3 minutes, it's rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's rude. So it's very different cultures, yeah, punctual, yeah, that's right. And there's also rubber time term in Indonesia, and you already, so finally you already understand about the culture.
Yeah, I mean, I quickly understood that things don't run. I mean, because when I was traveling, obviously you're getting, you know, buses and trains and planes and things. So you know that there is no schedule, and there's no point asking what the schedule is because it will change. You know? So you just say which bus is it or which train is it, and then look out for it. You know, and talk to people and find out which one it is. So, but then that runs into everything. You know, so whether it's work or school or any meeting, whether it's socially or, you know, for business, people just always turn up late.
I hope in the future there is no more rubber time in Indonesia, because actually that's a not good habit, right?
I think if it's in business, it should be on time. If it's casual, then you can be relaxed. It's okay. But I still think, like, I could have, well, like that time I was told to be there for 8 and they didn't show up. Well, they said they weren't going to be there till 10, that morning. But then they actually arrived even later than that, you know, because the traffic and so on. So, but it was like, I could have, you know, I'd been here a long time before that happened, so I wasn't angry or upset. I was just like, okay, this is just, it's typical. Luckily, you know, it was there was a cafe there, so it's like, okay, I can have a coffee, I can go for a walk. It's not a problem. I can amuse myself for an hour or two. But that is kind of rude to sort of say, get there for 8, and then you don't turn up till 10:30 or something.
You have to wait for a long time.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours, which is more than just a few minutes or an hour.
Right.
You know, it's like beyond. It's so yeah. It's well beyond like a relaxed time. It's like you tell somebody to be there at a certain time, and then nobody else gets there until much later. So. And yeah, because this was for an event, you know, so it's like, okay, I'll make sure I'm there on time, and so because obviously if you're late, then the schedule will be late, you know. But you, as I say, you learn and you learn to sort of think, okay, well, if I'm late, it's not the first time it's ever happened. they will, you know, whoever it is will just run
Yeah.
with what they're doing. They'll either delay it, which is normally what happens, or they'll just start and then you will join in when you arrive, you know, whichever they prefer. But normally everybody waits, has a cup of coffee and a cigarette normally is what people do, and then
oh my God.
and then wait for you to arrive.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay, listeners. I think the time is very limited. It's already 10:30. It's almost 10:30, and we have to stop.
Yeah, it's been enjoyable.
Yeah.
Chatting to you.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay, listeners, thank you so much, and I hope we can see again in the future.
Maybe
hopefully, doing the podcast again.
We can come do another event, English camp.
With another topic of the podcast.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah. Is that right for you?
That's fine.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Alan. Do you have any closing statement you want to say to the viewers?
No, just thanks for watching, and yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye.
Okay, that's enough. Yes, finish.